All right, you guys, I'm back. Good morning, my tiki-talkies. Okay, I was just on a moment ago, and for 3 minutes, not one person came on. So I was like, I don't know what's going on. So I just wanted to make sure that things were good on my end. So I decided to hang that one up, check my settings, and start again, because that was very strange, because I normally always get people on. Okay, so today is Friday. Happy Friday, everybody. So excited to be here. I am going to be doing a little inspiration piece today like this one. I posted this earlier in the week. I did this whole sketchbook thing, which is basically just 6 easy sketchbook exercises to show you how to just get started and warm up in your sketchbook. Let me see if I can zoom out of this really quick. Yay, we did it! And you get to see my very messy desktop. But is it really an art desk if you don't have it messy? That's all I'm saying. Anyway, so I figured when I made this, I got so excited that I ended up going live like right afterwards, made a couple pieces of art. There weren't really a whole lot of people on there. So I decided today would be fun to do another one similar to this. So we're going to do that. But before then, just a couple of things I wanted to tell you. Number one, I am going to be going live tonight hosting my second Florida Gen and Chill. And for those of you that don't know what Florida Gen and Chill is, it is where I host a multi-guest at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you are on Central Time, that would be 6:30 Central Time. If you're on Mountain Time, that would be 5:30. If you're on Pacific Time, that would be 4:30. Basically what I do is I get on here, I host a multi-guest for up to 8 people. So you can come on and you don't have to show your face. You can turn your camera on if you want, or you don't have to, but you can engage with us, whoever's on, with your voice. And basically, I walk everyone through how to create an abstract piece of art. We did this one last time. It was so fun, so much fun. It was like 2 hours of just hanging out with artists and just making something easy. And the beauty of this and why I do this is because I hear time and time again from artists who just say things like, I'm too much of a perfectionist. I can never do this. I can never just let go. I don't know how to doodle. I don't know how to just create something easy. I can't just let go and let things happen. So that's what this is for. And so I'm just showing you guys this. This looks way more complicated than it is, but I promise you this is not hard to do. Like I said, we did this in my last Florida Gen and Chill sesh. So we'll be doing this tonight, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Not this one, but we're going to be doing another Florida Gen and Chill tonight. And we'll be doing another abstract similar to this. You don't need to go out and buy any supplies. Just bring what you have. It's going to be so much fun. And if you don't want to be on the multi-guest, you don't have to. You can just chill and watch and follow along. Don't even have to interact. It's going to be fun. So be there. Feel free to RSVP if you want. It's in my, I don't know, on my profile somewhere. So with that being said, it's time for the next part of our live morning session, which is where we pick a card from Do You Really Know Your Family? So you get to know me a little bit better. And this one says, if I wrote a book, what genre would it be? Fiction, nonfiction, mystery, fantasy, etc. Mine would be nonfiction, for sure. Not only would it be nonfiction, it would have a lot of sarcasm. I would have a lot of complaining to do and a lot of talking about people I don't like. But you guys probably already knew that. There is this one book that I have called Dear A-Hole that I found at the store once. I absolutely loved it. And you can literally like tear out the sheets and leave them on people's cars and stuff. I've never done that, by the way, but it was so hysterical. I was like, oh my gosh. But it's got a scenario for everything. I thought it was so funny. So now I keep it in my bathroom as my toilet entertainment. I have a whole stash of bathroom books that I use for that. So just really, really funny. All right, so I am taking my masking tape and just taping down my paper. I'll put it here. There we go. And I'm going to take another piece. Usually when I'm taping down my paper, if you are new here, I just take it, I put it on my leg just to get that initial stickiness off. And then again, I put it down. This doesn't need to be exact. We're not making a masterpiece here. So again, put it on my leg, take it off and do this. There we go. And last but not least, one more. And then again, going to just take that piece and put it here. All right. So this one is going to be inspired by, again, this very easy sketchbook exercise just to get your creative juices flowing. So it'll be similar to this. I really love this, you guys. This is a really fun exercise to do. If you haven't done that, go look at my, whatever it's called. I don't even know what it's called. My feed, my board, whatever. So last week we had also brought in Palette Scout and made a fun color palette, which was really difficult for that acrylic. Ooh, I need to go see if that's dry in the garage yet, by the way. So we made this fun color palette. I'm going to zoom in a little bit because I feel like this is really too far zoomed out. So it's going to look wonky for a sec, but go with it here. Okay, so we had done this color palette, but I want to do a different one this time. So let's take a look and see what kind of colors we might want to do. So if you recall, oh my gosh, are we, why am I getting a call from my kids' school? It's on Do Not Disturb. They can call my husband this time. I feel like I get calls all the time. Anyways, it's probably like your kid forgot their water bottle. Or somebody threw up. Okay, call my husband because I'm tired of this. I'm so sweet. Anyways, so I have all the colors on these, and all of these have different color combinations that are super fun. And so the way it works is you kind of just pick a color and decide how you want to work it. And you can come up with your own combinations. You don't have to do it with these. So I'm kind of thinking maybe with this, I want to do some sort of floralish situation, and I want these colors to be able to mix well together. So for example, I know that if I mix this blue and this red, I'm going to get some sort of purple. So, and I'm going to bring this in to show you the example. Like this, I did this quinacridone gold, which is kind of a yellow and kind of an orange, depending on how thin or thick it is. And then I used phthalo turquoise, which is like a bluish green. And then when they combine, they make green. So it looks pretty, right? So because we're going to be doing something similar to this, where they're going to be combining, I want to make sure that it's not going to turn into like a muddy color. And we'll add other colors too, but for the background, we're going to want to make sure that they're not something that's going to turn into mud. Like yellow and brown, going to turn into mud. Brown or purple and orange. Did I say yellow and brown? I meant purple and yellow, going to turn into brown, which mud. So let's take a look in here. So really what we're going to be looking at is like red and yellow, blue and red, you know, our primary colors. Let's see here. Ooh, these might be some nice colors to think about for our color palette. Let's take a look at here. So this would be Reed, which is green, and that color is probably number 3. So let's go over here and look for Reed. It should be here. See, is that number 3? That looks like number 3. And that pink is probably Ibis or Ibis or however you say it. And that is, I don't know. I feel like that looks like, oh, it's on the other side. That's why. By the way, if you don't know, these cards have 2 sides. One is the true color. The other is the different, what do they call them? What do they call them? The tones. So I'm going to bring this up closer for you to see. So this is the true pure intensity. These are the tones based on, you know, adding or taking away black. So for example, if you see these, this doesn't have a dot, but this does. So if you turn this around, that's going to be the true tone. That doesn't have a dot. That has a dot, so I'm going to turn it around. That doesn't have a dot. So these are all pure tones now. And if I were to turn these around, now you can see all the different intensities or whatever. What is it called again? I don't even remember, you guys. Tones. Pure intensities, tones. Okay? I got it. So that is going to be this color. I think those two are so pretty. So we're going to, we're basically going to start building a color palette based on these. Now, if you look, I'm going to move these out of the way. If you look here, you can see that it talks about the different monochromes, the analogous, the split complement, and the triadic. Not really interested in doing that with these greens, but I do want to come over here and grab ibis, however you say it. Is. Let's see here. Take a look and see what it's got going on. Okay, so I automatically see this. This is Ocean. It's like my favorite color in this color palette. Automatically going to use it because it's so pretty. So we're going to use that at some point. So probably what we'll do is splatter the background with these. But really what I'm also trying to do is look to find, as you can see, these are all number 3s. So these are all going to be mid-tones. And when we talk about the tones in this color palette, you can see we have 1, 2, let me bring this one back up, 3, 4, and 5. And so it goes darkest to lightest. So we want to have a combination of dark and light, not just all 3s, because we want light and shadow as well. So probably what we want to do is bring in some darker complements, which could be this, and maybe some lighter complements, which could be even Ocean, could be something like this, or we could bring in another pop of color, which I'll probably do in yellow. So this split complement is the yellow. And if you come over here and you look at this card, hopefully you can see that, you can tell that this is amber because of the triangle. So triangle, triangle. So this one is amber. So I'm going to come over here. I see amber. Let me make sure I've got all of them. Here we go. And I'm going to make sure they're all flipped to the right side. None of them have the dots under them. So this is the tones. These are the pure intensities. And so if this is the bright yellow, again, we're looking at number 3. I'm probably going to try, see, I want this, but I want it in a lighter version. But I don't think we're going to get one. So we'll see. And then we might bring in some purple as well, which is going to be kohlrabi. So let's look for kohlrabi, probably back here somewhere. And maybe we can bring in, see, I feel like that's where it starts getting kind of tricky because you've got your pure intensities, but all the 3s are what really look good together, right? But because we're using watercolor, we can kind of just lighten or darken as we see fit. So as I'm looking at this, I'm thinking this is probably too red for what I want. Where did I put the ibis? Ibis, however you say it. Okay. And then I think lastly, what I want to do is just bring in kind of a darker green for some color tones there. And I think that looks good, you guys. And I think I already know what watercolors I'm going to use for this. So I'm gonna put my palette scout back in here. And we're gonna go from here. So these are the colors. I am going to use, I need a piece of scrap paper. Here we go. All right. I'm going to just grab my number 12 brush here. It is a Princeton Heritage. I'm going to use Opera Pink for the pink. Oh, get some more water on there. We can make this way more intense than it is. Get my hair out of there. Okay. So we got the pink. We're going to use Phthalo Turquoise for Ocean. It's my favorite. I need to put some more on my palette though, because it's basically empty. I'm going to use Indian Yellow Deep over here for the yellow. Might have a little green in it on accident. Kohlrabi. This one, I don't know which one's going to be better. It's either going to be, I'm thinking, yeah, no, this one. Okay. This one is Cobalt Violet. And then this amber tone over here, I'm going to have to mix. So this color is going to be a mixture of sap green and probably sepia. I wish you could see this. Let me zoom out a bit. Figure out how to zoom out a bit anyway. It's going to look wonky for a sec. Okay. Wait. There we go. Okay. And I could probably maybe get away with doing this a little bit more. Okay. So I'm going to take some sepia over here, bring it down here, add some of the sap green over here, a little bit more of this sepia here. Let's see. I think that's pretty close. And then for Reed, that one is the one I'm not quite sure which one I want to use. I'm thinking probably just pure sap green will do it, but we might need to add just a little bit of yellow. And if we add a little bit of yellow, we can just add a little bit of this Indian Yellow Deep to yellow it up a bit. So I think this is going to be our color palette. From here to here. Sounds good, right? Okay. Let's do that. And 1 second. Okay. All right. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure I didn't get a text message from my husband about my kids. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to start by taking some clean water on our number 12, and we're just going to start splattering it. The other thing you could do if you want is to grab a spray bottle and spray. But what I don't like about this particular method for this is that what I really want is more blobs, and that's more of a fine mist. So you'll see here once I start putting the water down that has more of a fine mist than anything. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into that Opera Pink, and I'm going to start adding it. And you'll see in some of the areas that we've already laid down water, it's going to bleed, which is what we want. I'll put this over here. And this is where we did that finer mist, so you'll see it start to kind of move in those areas a little bit differently. Now I'm using a cheaper paper, so it's going to dry a little faster than I had hoped, and that just is what it is. And then I'm going to go into my blue, my Phthalo Turquoise, which I need to put some more of in my palette here. I am also going to have to reorder this soon because I'm almost out. Get a bunch on there and start to do the same thing. And like I said, when this mixes, it's going to turn into a purple, which is what we want. We don't want muddy brown. Kind of looks like a birthday party, some confetti. And now it's all over, which is totally up my alley. Because again, if you're doing art and you're not getting messy, what are you doing? Okay, there we go. And now what we're going to do is take our brush, and there's a couple different things you can do here. For this example over here, I just kind of did this whole up and down thing, but I'm wanting to kind of do some florals. So I'm going to just start by like making a background. And so to do that, I'm going to start by just kind of making some little upward strokes like this. And then let's just kind of maybe do some little indications of, I don't know if blobbies is what I would call them, but let's just call them blobbies. I look like I got me some prison tats on my hand. I'm so cool. What was I in for, you ask? Being so cool. All right, so I'm gonna get a different brush because I want more of a fine line. So I'm gonna grab my dagger brush. It's a 3/8 Princeton Neptune, and I'm just gonna kind of do some of this. Okay, might bring some of these up here a little bit. What I want to avoid is having all of this turn into one blob. Like, we want some separation. We want some white space. Maybe down here we'll want a little bit more like indication of like, you know, the ground. So we can maybe do a little bit of this. And this is probably not the greatest brush to do that part with, so I'm going to go back to that number 12, and I'm going to just kind of get it wet and blend it a bit. Again, leaving some white space is fine. We want a little bit of that. There we go. All right, so now, while that's wet, I am going to take this and dry it. Now, if you want to create some visual interest while it's drying, you can take your spray brush and add a little spray. I kind of like to do that to some of those areas and then dry them quickly so that I still get those blobbed areas that stay, but also just a little bleed from it. And that little bleed part right there dries really fast with the heat gun. And the blobs are still wet, but they're not going to bleed onto it. So I'm going to try to zoom in here a little bit more. It's going to look a little wonky for a sec. Bear with me. I hate this trackpad. Okay. You can see this right here. I'm going to show you another example right over here. So let's do this. Okay, so you see how I did that? And if I dry it really quick, I'll still have those blobs, but I'll also have those bleed zones. Probably do one more over here. Good morning, dilemmatic Emma. I always have a hard time saying that. Thank you for the rose. That is very kind and sweet of you. I know it's dilemma, but is it dilemmatic, Emma? Dilemmatic. You know? I think it's dilemmatic, but I always want to say dilemma in my head first, and then it trips me up. All right, so now we've got that done. We are going to start filling in the details. Now, this is the color palette we're using this morning. And in case you didn't know, it came from this color. What? Where did my, oh, there's my ocean. I was like, where did my ocean go? It came from this color palette that we made this morning, and apparently I slapped watercolor on it. There we go. So that's what we're using. Emma! I'll just call you Emma. Thanks. I'm doing good this morning. I got up earlier than my alarm clock for once, and so I have just felt so productive today. I got up, I took a shower, I got my kids off to school just slightly earlier than usual. So I made my coffee, I sat at my computer, been working on my website, and then I got on here. And so I'm just like little Miss Productive today. I love it. How are you today? And it's Friday. I love me some Friday. All right. So we've got our little backy groundy going on here. And I'm thinking, oh, apparently I messed something up a little here. There we go. Okay, so the yellow is going to be a little tricky because I don't want to overpower this with yellow and then it turn green. So I think what we'll do is add some little specks of yellow at the end. So I'm thinking our primary flowers are going to be a combination of these, since we kind of already have those down here, but like in the background. And so they'll be more defined in the foreground, and some purple. And then we'll kind of add some green stems, some green foliage, that sort of thing. Sound good. So we'll start with some purple because I want to start with purple. All right, I'm going to be using my Princeton Neptune number 10. And let's see here. Emma says, wonderful. Happy it's Friday. It's been gray and gloomy the last few days. I don't want to be working. Emma, remind me where you live, because we are now getting the gray and gloomy down here in Florida. So I'm guessing it just went through wherever you are. And now we're getting it. Mississippi, yep. Yeah, we're supposed to be getting storms for like the next 5 days in a row, so we're in Northeast Florida. It was raining this morning and we need it. We've been in such a bad drought for months. We've had hardly any rain and we've got lots of fires going on, so other than the one that my chunky thighs like to start this time of year. All right. So I'm going to start by just using the tip of my brush to add just some centers here. And I don't want them to necessarily touch each other because they might start a fire. Just kidding. Because then they'll pull from each other when we do this next part, and I don't want them to do that. So what I'm going to do is actually clean that purple off my brush. I'm going to grab some of that pink, which is Opera Pink by Daniel Smith. And by the way, that purple is Cobalt Violet. And I'm going to take this and I'm just going to pull out some of that purple. And I'm going to start defining a petal. Now, I don't like that. So I'm going to add more purple because I feel like it gets lost here. So we're going to make it dark. But it's going to have some purple or pinky tones to it, so that's good. All right, next, I'm going to do the same thing, but over here. And I'm going to pull out another petal. And this time, I'm going to go grab some more of that pink. I'm going to drop it in instead of what we did with the previous one. And then grab some more of that purple again. I'm going to bring this one out like this. We're just doing a little 5-petal flower here. I don't feel the need to drop the pink in that one because it's got kind of a pink underlay on it. So that one's fine. I'm going to go over here to this one. And again, same here, just bring it up. That one is a little more purple than the rest, so I will bring in some of that pink and wrap it in. And then grab some more of that Cobalt Violet. And, I did not mean to bring it out and touch that petal. So I'm going to try to not touch that petal with it again. And apparently I touched the other petal too. Go, Jen! You're killing it. Literally. Okay. There we go. All right, so we're going to leave that one like that. And, yeah, we're going to leave that one like that for now. Excuse me. And now the next one I want to do is going to be maybe bringing in, I'm trying to think, maybe this rose of ultramarine, because it's kind of more of a maroon, pinky kind of tone, kind of like a mixture of that purple. Why do I have so many of my hairs in my watercolor tray? I mean, I know the answer to that because I'm perimenopausal, so I'm losing my hair, of course. But I have so much of it, it doesn't matter. And I never cover my tray. Anyway, so for this one, I think I'm going to make a little bit of a different one. So I'm just going to start. These are going to be more like wildflowers, and I'm just kind of making marks now to indicate, you know, a different type of flower. So this one's almost like looking this direction, if you will. Yeah, maybe we'll just add a little here. And it's almost like tucked up underneath here. There we go. Maybe we'll add like a little, another little one here. And then maybe to that one, while we're at it, we'll just drop in some teal. See what happens with that. And then let's bring in some of that pink. That is opera pink. Get a little bit more of that on my brush. And this one, let's do maybe just kind of this little indication of a, almost like a, not a tulip, but sort of in that family where you've got kind of these petals that go up like that. I don't know why the page is, or the water is being rejected from this part of the paper. It's kind of weird. Never seen that before. Might bring in like a little bud sort of thing here. And maybe another one kind of over here. There we go. And maybe in that one, I will bring in some of that Indian Yellow Deep and kind of just drop some in there. Let it dry. Then we'll bring in some of that Phthalo Turquoise. And this one can be, I don't even know. Let's just make some marks and see what happens. Sometimes I like to just kind of go around and see what becomes of some little quick marks like this. And then maybe in that one, I will also bring in some of that Indian Yellow Deep. And just drop it in there. Let's bring in some of that Cobalt Violet again. And maybe this one will have like a, almost like a peony sort of thing coming off this way. There we go. And then maybe in that one I'll drop in some Phthalo Turquoise. Why not? And now the more I see this one, the more I don't like it because it feels so out of place. But it is what it is. All right, let's see what else can we bring in. Let's go back to that Cobalt Violet and drop in some little, maybe just some little like lavender sort of looking things that kind of stick out. Okay, so we kind of keep the flowers across here for now. I'm going to go, apparently I'm throwing my brushes everywhere. I'm going to grab that dagger brush, and I'm going to go into that green that we mixed up earlier, which is a combination of sepia, however you say it, and sap green. I'm just mixing up a little bit more over here, so we kind of get that darker green. It's not like an army green, but it's kind of like an army green. And I'm just going to start by bringing up some of these like this, and maybe ones that come across like this. And then I'm going to start just kind of bringing in some of these foliages. I don't know why I can't think straight today and get my words out. Actually, I know why I can't get my words out. It's the Topamax. Problems with my word recall. Okay. I'm also going to just take this and add a little bit of green splatter here, just so it can be part of the fun. All right, I'm going to grab a little bit more water on there and see about just indicating a little bit of those green lines up here, almost like little green grasses. And then what I'm going to do is go in with just some sap green, and I'm going to grab a little bit of that Indian Yellow Deep to mix with the sap green, just to get a little bit more yellow green to try to match what we were doing earlier. And I'm going to make some more of these stems. And then, of course, I'm going to make some leaves to match. Let's make some there. Let's bring one down here. Let's bring one here. Here. There. Okay, there we go. Now, this looks nice and messy, but we are not even close to done yet. I'm gonna go ahead and hit it with the heat gun so we can start layering. I am going to use my little brush here and pick up this little blob of paint that is hiding in there. We're getting there, guys and gals. Hot. All right, so this is where it gets so much fun for me. All right, and hopefully for you too. My favorite ink in the world. It is the Winsor & Newton Gold Ink. It has been my favorite ink in the world for years. I want to say almost a decade, but I would actually have to go back in my Amazon and see when the first time I bought it was. It was probably around 2017. But I could be wrong, so don't quote me on that. All right, I always use a little stirring stick because the gold likes to settle on the bottom. And by the way, I am almost out of this, but have no fear. I ordered another one, and I ordered the big one this time. So I usually like to order the small one because when I dip my brush in, like I don't know what this part of the brush is called, will get like gold on it, and then I'll put my fingers in it and it annoys me. But I think I've just decided that I'm going to deal with it because I go through this stuff so fast. Okay. Because normally I use it to stir around, but now that I've got the stirring stick, it doesn't matter. Okay, now I threw my other brush that I was actually going to use over here on accident. You guys were here for that. So I'm going to use this. This is my script liner brush, Master's Touch. It's from Hobby Lobby. I think I got it for like $3. All right, so this is what I like to do. And this is really what brings this to life. I'm going to see if I can bring this down a little bit. I can make my face a little smaller so that you can see this better. Okay, so there are several things you can do here. You can turn this into something like doodle art on your painting if you want to. But what I like to do is really start to highlight areas of the florals. So for example, for here, I would probably, because this is small, just start to bring in indications of the movement of the floral. And then in the center, bring in some dots like that. Why is that so fuzzy that you can't see it, you guys? Linny G's in the house! Linny, this live is quiet, and I'm so glad you're here because I haven't seen any of my regulars. Today's been a very weird day. I got on my live this morning, and for the first 4 minutes, had nobody. Not one person came through. So I ended it and then got on it again. And then I finally started having people show up. And I'm like, what is happening? Why is this so weird? Oh, really? I had no idea. Excellent. Maybe that's why the kids' school called me this morning during my live, to which I was like, they can call my husband. There we go. Please don't say that. I'm going to shut down my live. All right, so we also have some little indications here of some buds. So I'm just going to do that. Planes aren't running because jet fuel is costing too much. What? Are we about to have a repeat of 2020, you guys? Because if so, I'm just going to live on TikTok and do art 24/7. I mean, that's all I'm going to be able to do. All right, so then what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to start by kind of like outlining the petal like this. But then I also like to kind of just bring in some of what would be like the veins in the petal like this. Yeah, I feel like I really missed an opportunity during the pandemic of the renegade dance. I feel like I really missed an opportunity during the 2020 pandemic because I, had babies and elementary school kids at home trying to learn, and that was such a terrible time for so many people, especially those of us with babies and yeah, anyway, as if my problems being a stay-at-home mom, you know, trumped people who were actually sick with COVID and had people dying and, you know, lost their jobs and stuff. First world problems and all. I'm being sarcastic, everybody, so please know that I'm just being a whiner. I know that I had it just fine. But anyways, I feel like I really missed an opportunity to get on and learn TikTok and, you know, make a name for myself as a ridiculous human being. So I'm trying to make up for lost time. So if another one comes our way, I'm there. I mean, I'm already working on Florida Jen. I am Florida Jen. So there. Thanks for sharing it, Emma. I appreciate you, boo. See, my people, they get me. They just get me. So again, I'm just kind of making these little indications here of how these little florals might look. And what that really does is it helps bring them forward from the background. And so I feel like it really not only makes it stand out and brings them forward from the background, but it really just adds a nice pop. You guys who have been following me for any length of time know I am all about the shimmer shimmer. I love the shimmer shimmer. This is my favorite gold ink of all time. I'm going to add just some little center dots there. So yeah, this is kind of a staple in a lot of my work. Now, my second favorite is, I can't get it in the shot. Here we go. Is this one by Artistic Isle Watercolor. If I am out of the gold, this is a good second. This is called Lightning. She's out of it right now. I have asked her to maybe make some more because I've been really hoarding it to save it. But it is a very close second to this. It's a little more like rosy gold, but the ink is really just where it's at. So, yeah. Yep. Lindsay, are you still here? Because yesterday I was like, is Lindsay still here? Because I was going to tell you something and then you weren't here anymore. So I was going to tell you it today, if you're still here. For those of you that don't know, Linny G is my sister-in-law. She's married to my little bro. They live down the street from us. Actually, in our old neighborhood from where, before we bought this house. She acting like she don't hear me. She must have gotten off. I shared my pudding with you. It's a line from Friends. Don't come at me, bro. Bro. I gave you my snack pack. Okay. So I think that's all like the major flowers that we got going on. Now, what I like to do is also then highlight some of the main stems and leaves. Now, the way this is going to work is a little bit different though. I kind of like the broken up lines for these. And I don't want to go over some of the main leaves. So like, for example, this is a main leaf. And so this one, I'll probably like press down like I did there just to get that looking really good. And then same thing here, I'm gonna press down. And then here, I'm gonna get some more Might need to stir that again. Start on the tip of the brush, press down to get it thick, and then come up on the tip of the brush like that. And then this one here. There we go. This one's just a little guy. This one is also just a little guy. Okay, let me get some more of these stems. Okay, so that looks good so far. Now what I like to do, actually before I do the next part, let me stir this up one last time. And then while this is still wet, I'm not going to like completely dry it off, but I am going to take this and I am going to just go around here and splatter some splatters. Okay. Enough with the gold. Now, what I want to do is really bring in some definition into these leaves so that they don't get lost in the background. And so to do that, what I'm going to do is bring in some perylene green, which is a nice deep green. It's more of a cool tone green, but I don't necessarily mind that. I'll show you. It's right here. So I'm just going to take that same fine liner brush, get it nice and saturated with the pigment, less color, more pigment. And then what I'm going to do is just kind of go underneath that gold that we just put out there and just add a little bit of definition. And what this does is it ends up looking more like a shadow. So it doesn't look like the leaf or the stem itself is like a different color. It just adds a little something to make it pop, just like the gold does. And you're really just working with the tip of that brush, so you're not really adding thick lines. Trying to keep them nice and thin. Okay. There we go. All right. Now, the last thing I want to do is bring in some of that yellow that we talked about. So I'm going to use that same liner brush. I'm going to go into this Indian Yellow Deep, and I'm going to just paint some little indications of tiny flowers on the white part, or in some of these white parts. The reason I'm doing it on the white part is because I don't want it to turn green on some of these splatters on the background, which it will. So we're just gonna kind of keep these yellow by doing it like this. All right. Now, what you think, everybody? Oh, Meredith is here. Hi, Meredith. How you doing this morning, girlfriend? And I think this one is as good as done. So, I'm going to zoom out here. Oh, what just happened? Why am I taking over the whole screen? Nobody needs to see me that big. All right, let me do this one. There we go. I'm so glad to hear that you are good. I'm so happy that it's Friday too. I really need to get like this camera situation like dealt with. Oh no, no. What have I done? What have I done? I barely touched it. Let me see. Oh, I went to the password screen. That's why. Okay. I'm just trying to like even it out. There we go. Okay. Are we ready for the tape pull? Let me tell you what, Meredith, yesterday I did Peacock session number 6 to do this. And this fussy camera was going in and out like every few seconds. I was so mad. And so I ended up unplugging it from the computer. And then it dawned on me this morning, I bet my computer needs to be restarted. And that's probably what happened. And sure enough, I restarted it this morning, plugged this bad boy back in, hasn't done it once. So I think it was my computer. Yeah, isn't this cool? I call them the Peacock sessions because I had somebody ask me to do a peacock, but she can't afford to buy it, which is totally fine. And I told her I would record the video so that she can try to recreate it herself. And it's taken quite a long time, but I had somebody else who wanted to do that hummingbird that I had messaged you about. I still have no idea who asked me for it. I went back and I tried to find it. It's been a whole thing. I can't find it. So I'm just waiting for somebody to ask me. But anyways, so when I did that one, I was recording it on my phone and I ran out of space and I didn't know. And so I lost like all the details and I was so mad about it. So I decided when I did this one that I would just do live sessions so that it would be saved on here and I could just download them and upload them straight to YT. And so that's what I'm doing. But anyway, this one is probably going to be a lot more difficult for people to make because I made this watercolor because I could not find a true peacock blue that I wanted. I'm going to do another layer on it because if you look, you can still see like the underlay of the background on it. But yeah. Yes, I love that one too. That's so frustrating that someone ordered and disappeared. I don't think they ordered and disappeared. I'm pretty sure it was one of my regulars. And I think it was just that they were like, oh yeah, totally would buy it, you know, whatever. And I'm like, okay, cool. Sounds great. I'll get started on it. And then I haven't seen them since then. And I don't mind taking on something like that and then just, you know, as long as I have the supplies, I have fun doing it. So I'll just hold on to it until I see them again and they're just like, or until I remember who they are and say, oh yeah, I finally have it done. This is what it looks like, you know, here, you know, send me your info and we'll arrange everything. But unless I have to like buy supplies for it, I don't mind just doing it. So, or if it's something that I don't want to do, then I'll take a deposit for it. But other than that, like, you know, this is just fun for me. So, and I know I'll be able to sell this original without a problem. FBI, hello. Am I in trouble with the FBI? The female body inspector. I've been making all sorts of friends jokes this morning. All right, I'm going to heat up this this tape so I can do my tape pull. Lindsay, are you here again? I saw you rejoin. Tell me if you're here, Lindsay. Okay, good. So, Lindsay, you weren't here yesterday when I went to tell you. I think you had to hop off. And So I was putting all my stats and stuff into ChatGPT and really trying to like come up with whatever my strategy is for TikTok and Amazon influencer and all that crap. And oh, you guys are missing my song, my tape pull song. That's okay. I'll just do it for this one. Ready? Okay. And so Chat told me that I'm missing like a regular format to my morning art sessions. Like people love to hear me talk. They love to come here and hang out and all that stuff. And okay, that's great. But I decided that I would kick off my morning art sessions by doing these every morning. So yesterday's I did what is my favorite thing to snack on. And the joke was on them because I don't really snack. Today's was if I wrote a book, what genre would it be? Fiction, nonfiction, mystery, fantasy, etc. Mine would be nonfiction, and it would be some sort of complaint book about stupid people. People that irritate me. Like the kind of people that like pull out in front of you when you're driving and then slow down. Or the people that turn on their left blinker. Right, Meredith? They turn on their left blinker and they're in the left turn lane and you're like in a right turn lane and there's like 3 lanes between you and you're about to turn right and all of a sudden they just go cut you off right in front of you. Like, oh my gosh. Yeah, I would definitely do that kind of book. So, and then the like one person that was on when I was saying that got off. I was like, okay, you can be mad about it, girl. It would be a 10,000 page book and it would be a bestseller, a New York Times bestseller. It would have to be because, I mean, let's face it, I can think of a lot of stupid things and I've done a lot of stupid things. So I would be included in this. And it would probably be called Florida Jen Takes on Stupidity or something like that. I don't know. And I might have to include some of my kids in it too. Like, I refer to my son as a tiny a-hole. I was talking about that yesterday on my live. He's almost 8 years old. He can be a tiny a-hole. Or, yeah, Bartram Park Sign Patrol. Actually, I'm pretty sure it's Bartram Park Sign Police. BPSP. Yeah. My mom leads that one. So it would just, you know, talk about all the things that people would love to complain about. Or we could also do one that's like, you know, how they have like the people of Walmart situation. We could have like people of the internet situation who just like, okay, I can't name names, but I don't always return my shopping cart to the corral. And let me tell you why. I mean, I do now, but when I had 4 babies and I would take them shopping, it was a lot easier to get them all buckled into the van and then put all my groceries in. But I wasn't fixing to leave them with my van running in the 100-degree weather with the AC on to go return a cart. Not doing it. I'm just going to leave my cart in a place that, you know, can just leave. Congratulations, Meredith. She just reached 300 watch minutes, live watch minutes. Okay, shoot, girl. I am going to name this one Meredith. Meredith 300 right now. Where's a pen? This one is for you, girlfriend. Here we go. Meredith 300 for 300 watch minutes, or I will forget why. But yeah, no, I'm not fixing to leave my kids in a running van just to go put a cart back. Screw that. But yeah, I can't name names, but like I would talk about the passive aggressive things that people do on the internet that are just stupid. But it's like family dynamic style. So like I can't name names, but it's not my family. Hang on, I almost just said it. I know someone who reposted something that was like a body positivity thing. And their stepmother, who is very anti, like, how do I put this? She's like fat phobic and doesn't eat anything, is like this thin because she doesn't eat anything, and who is married to like an alcoholic, basically said it's a choice. You could do something about it in response. And it had nothing to do with this body positivity thing that she had reposted. And I was just like, the audacity of some people to make it about something that you know they're clearly thinking, even though it's none of their damn business. Ugh. And so I was so proud of this person for responding the way that they did, because this person has taken it for years. But I'm just like, you know, I have been the victim of that before with my in-laws, and like, that wasn't cool. I didn't ask for that. You think I'm unaware of my size? Like, it's not for you to try to make me feel bad. Girls, Florida Jen's starting to get a little worked up. But like, that's the kind of book I would write. It would be nonfiction, and it would be about that sort of shiznit. Oh, I feel like that girl now on TikTok. What's her name? Aguyacita, who has those nails that are like this long, and she like tells you why guys are bad for you and why you're making stupid decisions, and she always has her nails like this, and she's like, my nails are finally long enough to do that with. And I haven't broken them. It's because I've been taking my vitamins. Anyway. Yeah. Do you guys want to hear the story about my in-laws, or have you seen it on my feed about my size? My size. I guess I should also show you this. I do have a short video series called How to Repel Your In-Laws and How to Repel Your Daughter-in-Law. Wee. Lindsay. She's like, tell us. Like, she hasn't heard this story 1,000 times. Okay. Amongst the many, 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 many things my in-laws. And when I say in-laws, I mean my father-in-law and stepmother-in-law. My husband's mother is a gem. But his stepmother is the opposite of that. A lump of coal? Yeah. Which is funny because her stepson's name is Frank. Frank? But he goes by Cole. But I love him. Anyway, he's not my husband, but I love him as a brother. Known him as long as my husband. Actually, longer than my husband. But anyways, it's not the point. One of the times that we were visiting, all of our kids were there too. My husband was there too. We were at their home having dinner, and I could tell out of the corner of my eye that his dad and stepmom were looking at me throughout dinner. And I felt like no matter who I was, they were never going to just like be okay with whoever I was. Like, I tried to be so many different versions of myself to try to appease them. And it was never, never, never good enough. And so, they always thought I had an ulterior motive. And so they're staring out the corner of their eyes at me, but like not making eye contact with me. And then I go to like butter my roll, and his dad just looks at me and says, do you know, your problem is portion control. Excuse me. Now, let me give you a little dynamic here before I tell you how I responded and how I wished I would have responded. My husband is a peacekeeper. He's not a weenie. He's a peacekeeper. He is someone who always gives people the benefit of the doubt. Your problem is your personality. Yeah, they look at, so my in-laws, my father-in-law and stepmother-in-law look at the world like everybody's out to get them and like they are victims of everyone. And the only people they can kind of trust are people who are truly blood. And even then, they have a track record of cutting people off for years who are actually blood just to try to get their way. It's so stupid. But anyhow, my husband is a peacekeeper. He always gives people the benefit of the doubt, always tries to see the good in people, so on and so forth. Now, because he was raised with these people, he doesn't always see it my way. And I had been telling him for years that this is how things were happening. And he didn't necessarily not see it, but he didn't necessarily see it my way either. But we're sitting at a dinner in front of our 4 children, and his dad just comes out and says that. And I was like, are you effing kidding me? So as though, number 1, I'm not aware of my size. As though, number 2, I don't know that I have a problem. Or number 3, maybe I'm okay with myself being this size. Now, I was larger than I am now. Not by much. Maybe like another 5 or 10 pounds or something. Oh, look, you guys. I got a little too frustrated and broke a nail. Whatever. It was worth it. And so I, long story short, try to explain it away because at the time I had just started intuitive eating. Oh, you know what? No, I was about 20 pounds heavier. Never mind. I was 20 pounds heavier. I had started intuitive eating, and intuitive eating has a couple phases to it. And I was in the phase where you were allowed to eat whatever you want, whenever you wanted. And that's basically to make food lose its novelty. And so basically, I tried to explain it away, saying, you know, I'm doing this and this is why and blah, 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 because that was like what I did back then. And then after that, I just kind of put the face on. And then after dinner, I went to my room and I just didn't want to come out. Not because I was like shut down, but because here we go with yet another thing that they are attacking me with. And I just don't want to be around these people. And I have to be because we live 3 hours away and we're staying the weekend with them, right? And, you know, I would try to stay in my room as much as possible anyway. And it's not like anything they did like made me cry or angry, because at this point I wasn't even surprised, but like it was just frustrating. And so fast forward, once my husband and I went to go to bed and the kids were in bed and I knew that the in-laws weren't in earshot of us, I said, why didn't you stand up for me? Like, this is not okay. They should never, ever comment about how I eat or my weight. Because now I just don't ever want to eat around them because I already knew what they were thinking. But the fact that they feel so free to just comment on it is not okay. And he told me that he actually did pull his dad aside after dinner and tell him that it's not okay to talk to me about that and not okay to discuss my weight with me. And he did it in a very kind and polite way instead of, you know, calling him out at the table like that, which I get, but I think I just wanted it to be more, don't talk to my wife that way, which he has since gotten to be with his dad because his dad has gotten so bad over the years. Like we don't even have a relationship with them at this point. And it's a whole thing. Like I can't even tell you all the craziness that has happened. But so that's one of the things that would go in my book for sure. If I had to write a book. You guys like this story time, don't you? So yeah, how I wish I would have responded. I meant to say that too. How I wish I would have responded, because I was also trying to keep the peace for my husband's sake. And this is the thing. For years, I tried to just absorb the blows to keep the peace because I wanted my husband to know that I would support a relationship with him and his father and stepmother. I would support my grandkids knowing their grandparents despite how I felt about them, because he was very aware of how I felt about them. And, you know, I'd put on the face and all that stuff. But once they moved from Colorado to 3 hours away from us, and we didn't ask them to do that, and then they started complaining that we didn't make their move worth their while. Like, that was our number one. We never told them to do that. Number two, we never wanted them to do that. Number three, why are you putting that on us? And then on top of that, you asked, after you told us you were going to move to Georgia, you said, how far is too far? And we said anything over 2 hours, and you still chose 3 hours away. And then you're going to complain that we didn't make it worth your while. F you. You know what I mean? Like, anyway, how I wish I would have responded was with a freaking backbone. And I finally responded with a backbone in an email a couple of years ago after they mistreated my children in a weekend visit that they had with them. So, prior to that, they had, so what happened? Oh my gosh, you guys, here I go, right? So what had happened was I had decided that enough was enough. I had started therapy in like April or May of some year, I want to say 2023. And I had an amazing therapist named Martha. She was this sweet little old lady. I absolutely loved her. And I went to therapy for 6 months with her. And it was not because of my in-laws. It was because I was going through what I would call a midlife identity crisis. My kids were finally old enough that I wasn't in the baby phase anymore. And I was trying to figure out who I was again because I didn't know who I was again. And, you know, I was struggling with a lot of that. And well, it turns out, Lindsay's like, you thought you was Britney Spears. I am Britney Spears, biatch. Anyway, and so, like, I'll give you an example. Like, I really wanted a tattoo, but my whole life, my parents have always been very conservative Christians. And I was always taught that tattoos are bad. I knew my parents would be super disappointed in me, and I didn't want to be the one that disappointed in them like that. But I was freaking 39 years old. At that point, I shouldn't need to worry about that. You know what I mean? And so it was like things like that I was just like, why do I even care? And so anyways, long story short, I went to therapy, and it very quickly turned into my in-laws. And the majority of my therapy ended up being about my relationship with my in-laws. And there were so many things that I learned about therapy with her. I actually wrote them down at one point. And she has said some things that have stuck with me for years. The first one, and the most important, is I don't owe anyone an explanation for anything, including them. The second is that I don't have to be around them. I don't owe them an explanation, and I don't have to be around them. And I was really having an anxiety. I never deal with anxiety, but with them, when a visit was coming up, I would have panic attacks and anxiety that I had never faced before. And I remember I would go to my closet to do our video visits. And like, I would sit there talking to her, and like this fluttery feeling would just be happening in my chest. And I was just, you know, and I would be talking to her about it, and she would like, recenter. I need you to just take in 5 deep breaths and recenter, close your eyes. Okay. And then we would start again, and we would talk about it. And she was like, you don't need, so the 4th of July was when we would go over there, because my husband's birthday is July 3rd. One of our daughters is July 2nd. And so we would go up there for a few days, and we would celebrate the 4th of July and those birthdays and blah, blah, blah. How do we get Martha on this live? I don't even know, girl. They ended up eliminating like half the mental health department at St. Vincent's, and she was one of them, unfortunately. I loved her so much. I was so sad when I couldn't see her anymore. But anyway, so she was amazing. But anyway, so I decided not to go. And I kept telling my husband to tell his family that I was not coming, his dad and stepmom, and he didn't do it. So when he showed up with the kids and I wasn't there, he was like, they were really upset because they're like, where's Jen? Where's Jen? And he's like, we'll talk about it later. We'll talk about it later. We'll talk about it later. And honestly, I don't remember what he told them other than like, she's just not comfortable being here. And I mean, that's for sure the truth. But of course, their mind then runs wild with, oh, she never liked us. She's always had ulterior motives. She only wanted whatever expensive gifts we were going to give her or make her, like a quilt or that Breville thing on the counter and blah, blah, blah. As if I asked for those things, number one. Number two, how did I know they were going to be giving us those things when I did go with it, to visit all the times that we went? So it's just like so stupid, the rationale. But anyway, so I stopped going to visit. And I encouraged my husband to take the kids to visit. I still allowed my kids to be dropped off there for the weekend for them to visit and all of that stuff up until, so that was in July, up until February of the following year. And in February the following year, so this would have been 2024, my husband dropped the kids off over, I think it was Valentine's weekend or maybe the weekend before. I think it was the weekend before. And so they got dropped off on a Friday, picked up on a Sunday. And over just like that 1.5 days that they were there, my kids came home and immediately started talking about how their grandparents were really yelly. And I was like, what does that mean? And I forgot to tell you about the best part before this. So my in-laws had started taking jabs at me from a distance before that. And I think it was in August. Was it in August? No. No, it was that visit when my husband brought the kids back. Okay, so hang on. So they started taking jabs at me. For example, when Father's Day came about, hang on, I might be getting my years wrong. That might have been in 2022. I might be wrong. It doesn't really matter. Whatever happened in the time that I stopped going around and the time that we stopped allowing our kids to go over there, they would send a Father's Day card to my husband, but not to me. A Mother's Day card to me. And they never send my husband Father's Day cards, ever, until that happened. And then they would send everyone Christmas gifts except for me. Petty, right? But what happened on the day that Colby is my husband, to get the kids, is they would meet halfway and swap kids. So, because it's like an hour and a half. And so what would happen is they have a truck and we have a minivan. And so they wouldn't have enough space in their truck for all 4 of our kids and their things. So they would meet halfway and they would swap vehicles. So my husband would drive their truck back here and they would drive our van with our kids and their stuff in it back to their house. And then when they would come back, they'd swap again. So when the truck came back here, it sat in our driveway. No, this was over in August because they had the kids longer. Because I remember whatever it was, it sat in our driveway for like 5 days. Like the one day, then there were 3 total days, and then the next day. Okay, so this was a different time then. And anyway, so what ended up happening was the stepmom does long arm quilting. And she had asked me to set up, oh, Natalie is here. Hi, Natalie. You're in story time about my in-laws right now. Thank you for the heart, girlfriend. So what happened was she had asked me to pick out my favorite baby clothes of all my kids because I was planning to send it to someone on Etsy to have a quilt made. But then she started doing the long arm quilting and she's like, hey, why don't you pick out your favorites and I'll make a baby quilt for you, or make a quilt with the baby clothes for you. I said, okay. This was years before this happened. She never made one. So the truck's sitting in the driveway for lack of a better term, let's just say 5 days. And right before my husband goes to meet them halfway, he gets a text from the stepmom saying, hey, last time Jen was here, she left a bag of fabric and it's in the back of the truck. Can you just get it out before you come? And he's like, okay. And so he had already told me that he was leaving and walked out and locked the door. And then he came back in and I was like, oh, did you forget something? He's like, no, Debbie said that you left a bag of fabric and and so I needed to get it out of the truck and leave it here. And I was like, a bag of fabric? I never had a bag of fabric. What is she talking about? And then he left, and then I texted him. I was like, I bet it's all my baby's clothes, all of my baby clothes. And sure enough, I opened the bag. It's in a trash bag, like a big, yard trash bag. And it is all of my precious baby clothes that have been sitting in the August heat in the back of their truck for 5 days. 5 days. And I was livid. And I told him that. And I think that's when he finally started realizing what was happening. So I went on to Etsy, found somebody who could make me some baby quilts, ended up ordering them, posted it all over the place because I was being passive aggressive because I really just didn't like her that much anymore. And then that Christmas is when they sent presents to everyone but me. And then my kids went to go visit that February. So they come home, they say, Oma and Opa, we're really yelly this time. I was like, what does that mean? They start telling us about how they basically were yelling at them nonstop. And because we didn't let them go over for Christmas, because I was over letting them, we always said that when they moved here, we weren't doing the 2 Thanksgivings, 2 Christmases like a divorced family. They could come here and celebrate with us, but that's it. But they didn't want to do that because they're antisocial people. And so they held on to the Christmas gifts to give the kids until the kids would go there. So the kids got their Christmas gifts in February, and they, at the dinner table, I don't know if it was the Friday night or the Saturday night, but they stood up, or the grandma stood up at the table and started crying because that's her MO. She cries about everything, and started saying, well, we feel like you don't say thank you enough and you're not grateful for the things that we give you and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, hang on a second. So you're telling me that my 4 kids at the time were either 4 or 5, let's just say 5 to be on the more liberal side, 5, 7, 9, and 11, you sat them down at a dinner table without their parents present, and you told them that you don't think that they say thank you enough or are grateful for the things that you give them, while crying, to make them feel gaslit into thinking they've done something terrible. That is a horrible thing to do. My kids are good kids. And yeah, they they are good kids. They do say thank you. Occasionally they, like anybody, yeah, you hand them something, maybe they forget to say thank you, and you just go, what do you say? Thank you, sure. But they had gotten like these ride-on toys and stuff that have to stay at Oma and Opa's house because they can't come home even though they're Christmas gifts. And, they got to play on the ride-on toys and stuff. And of course they're having fun. I'm sure they said thank you at some point. But it's like they didn't say it in the way that she wanted to hear it so that she didn't feel it that way. And so all of a sudden the kids are kind of cornered at the dinner table. I don't know why it's always the dinner table that these things have to happen at. And she says these things and makes the kids feel horrible. So then the kids start crying and thinking that they have really hurt their grandparents and that they've done something wrong. But then there's other things too. Like, Our daughter at the time, our oldest one, had a cell phone. We told her, you can call us anytime. Text us, call us anytime. Well, they took her phone away. They wouldn't let her have it to call us or do anything with. They slapped my son's arms away from things when he wasn't walking fast enough. Like, it wasn't like he was reaching for the stove and, oh no, don't put your hand there. It was, stop doing that. Stop doing this. Walk a little faster. And then they'd push him to walk faster. And at the time he had a stutter. And so he'd get kind of stuck in this stutter loop. And so he would be like, and then they would just start talking right over him, like what he had to say didn't matter. Or they would lean across the table and say, spit it out, Declan. And so they're like telling us all these things that are happening in just this day and a half, essentially, that they are spending with their grandparents. And then the grandparents make them do yard work. So it's like, okay, and there's nothing inherently wrong with doing yard work. Okay, let me get that straight away. But let me figure this out. So you get to see your grandchildren a couple times a year. You have them for Friday night, all of Saturday, and just Sunday morning. And you're going to take away all of their abilities to communicate with their family. You're going to give them Christmas gifts that have to stay at their house as a way to try to control them into coming to their house more. You're going to yell at them constantly, make them feel terrible like they've done something wrong, and put them to work doing yard work. Like this. Oh, and then you're going to slap Declan. You're going to slap his arms. And then you're going to shove him when he's not walking fast enough. Like, this is just not okay. You're grandparents, not parents, grandparents. And in the day and a half that you have these kids, this is how you're going to treat them. And they come home feeling like this is not a place we want to be. No, this is not okay. And so my husband, the peacekeeper, knew that this wasn't okay. And he took, because he knows how his dad is and how his stepmom is, took 2 weeks to sit on it, mull over how he wanted to approach it, what he wanted to say, all of these things, to try to say it in the most peaceful way, PC way possible, while also maintaining his authority as their father. So he schedules a chat with them. And this chat did not go well at all. So this was in February. About a month later, over their spring break in March, they were going to go again to their grandparents' house, but they didn't want to go, especially my oldest. She was like, no. And in that conversation, they told my husband they didn't need to be parented by someone they parented, which I was around during that time because we met as teenagers. He wasn't parented. They said that in their house, they're allowed to do what they want with our children. And then they turned it around to talk solely about me. They just wanted to talk about how I have always hated them, how I've weaponized our kids against them, and basically just the weaponization part. Yeah. And that they would have to think about whether or not they wanted to have the visit over spring break. Like, are you freaking kidding me? These are your grandkids? Like, if it were my parents would be like, oh my gosh. Well, first of all, they would never behave that way. Second of all, my parents would be like, oh my gosh, I am so sorry. I didn't realize that this was the impact I was having on your children. I will absolutely change my behavior. You know, I'm so sorry. Can I sit down with your kids and apologize to them? And my parents wouldn't explain their behavior away. They would just apologize and try to make it up to them. Like, that's how my parents are. And it's like his parents, they won't even budge a millimeter. It is so irritating how they will not take any responsibility for anything that they do. All they want to do is blame me for everything, that I've always hated them, that I've always, devised this plan to separate my husband from his family and blah, 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 blah. They even said in one of their emails in the last year at some point that it has always been my plan to separate him from his entire family, and how or how I hate all of his family and have ostracized him from his brothers and sisters and his own mother and blah, 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 blah. None of that is true. Who have they talked to on that side of the family that have ever said that? I don't know, because number one, I don't talk to his little sister. I never have had a relationship with his little sister. It just never happened. Like, but I don't have any ill will against her. She doesn't have any ill will against me. It's just she lives far away. She's like, 10 plus years younger than me. And so we've never had a relationship, but that doesn't mean that I don't like her. That doesn't mean that we hate each other. And my husband doesn't even really talk to her that much, but he goes back to his hometown and visits with her. Big deal. And then, yeah, exactly, Lindsay. He doesn't talk to her on the reg. And I'm not going to say anything about her on here, but there are some reasons there. But it's not like relational. It's just life choice related. His oldest sister, totally fine. His brother, totally fine. His mother, totally fine. Anyway, so, they ended up deciding against the, visit over that spring break. But after that conversation, I got to sit down and write the email of all emails. And it was the best feeling I have ever had to finally get to say everything I have ever wanted to say to them without being interrupted and without, with being able to say, I tend to write emails because I don't feel like when I say things, I necessarily get my point across in the right way, unless I have time to mull over my words. And so I wrote it in an email. I knew I'd never get to actually have a conversation with them, because you can see how they blew up at my husband, who is like their not prodigal son. He's like their good son. Like, he's never done anything wrong kind of son, he's always been the son that they can rely on, who's never cut them off, who's never, always got good grades, never got in trouble, like that sort of thing. Yet here we are. Anyway, long story short, I got to say everything I wanted. They never talked to me again, which is fine. I did not want to talk to them again either. Now they have sent really ugly messages back and forth with my husband. They've had a couple of conversations with my husband over the phone, but his stepmom has completely blocked him everywhere. And, until they're willing to go to, I told my husband, I am unwilling to have any conversations with them without a therapist present, because there is no talk about the counselors. Yeah. So, I said that I was unwilling to have any conversations with them without a therapist present. So we need to do family counseling. And we offered to pay for it and everything, and they absolutely refused. They said that only crazy people need therapists, and they're not crazy. And so my husband, knowing how his parents are, his dad and stepmom, said he was going to change the word to mediator. So he did. And then his dad is like, okay, well, I'll think about it. Well, of course, he thought about it and said no. But it was funny how just changing that one word finally made his dad think a little bit about it. But yeah, I told my husband, there is going to be a time where that ship sails, because at some point I'm going to move on with my life, and I am not going to want to reopen this can of worms. And so at some point I'm going to come to you and I'm going to say, I'm done. I'm not going to be willing to work this out. And that time has already come and gone. So I'm good with that, because now I don't have to pretend when my daughter's walking across the stage, graduating from high school, or going to prom, or any other number of life events, that I'm on good terms with them. It doesn't have to taint the special things that happen in our lives, because I don't have to deal with it. And yeah, it sucks that they're not going to get to be a part of it, and my husband's not going to be able to have his dad and stepmom be a part of it, but they made that choice. They made that choice. My kids are not their kids. They don't get access to my kids without going through us. And that's what they don't seem to understand. They want to they keep sending emails periodically that says, when do we get to see our grandchildren? You shouldn't keep them from us because our issues with Jen have nothing to do with them, blah, 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 blah. But it's like, they have no understanding that, like, we are their parents. At what point do you think that you get our kids without working it out with us? Because you still haven't acknowledged that you've treated our children badly. And we still have no confidence in you that you are going to treat our kids appropriately. And until we can trust you with our children will not be in your presence. And I've already told my husband, our children will never be left alone with your dad and stepmom ever again. So that is off the table. Like that will never happen again. And the thing is, his parents will stay angry for so long that like it'll be another like 2 years before we get another email from him. And it was funny because they sent one, his dad sent us some nasty gram again. And by us, I mean my husband, because he doesn't have the balls to send a message to me or include me on a message because that's him. But he said something about, seeing the grandkids again, like what I just said. And my husband responded back with basically saying, this is a pointless message. I've already said everything I need to say to you. If you want to stay mad again for another 2 years and then bring it back up, that's up to you. But you keep talking about not having much time left. And if you want to spend it being angry and not seeing your grandkids instead of actually trying to be productive and have productive conversations with a mediator, that's on you. And what do you think happened? Well, is it May now? Yeah, it's May now. That was January. It's been 4 months and we haven't heard a damn thing. So I think we all know that he's just going to continue being angry until something flares up and he sends another nasty gram about me to my husband. And it's funny because my husband said in the last one, he's like, don't send any more messages about my wife, hate messages about my wife. You've said enough. And if you think you're going to break us up at this point, it's not going to happen. We've been together 26 years. We've been married for going on 20. What is your purpose in doing this? You're not going to convince me to divorce her. She's the mother of my children and the love of my life. She's my best friend. Yeah. So you saying whatever it is you're going to say is not going to change anything. And I'm tired of hearing it. I feel like I need to do a podcast on this. I feel like Candace Owens right now, the way she talks about Erica Kirk. Anyways. So yeah. That was a really long rant, you guys. I feel like I just ranted for almost an hour. But I hope you enjoyed the rant nonetheless. It was fun. Get some stuff off my chest. And yeah. And I got to make some pretty art. I actually really like this piece, despite how busy it is. And I hope that you like it too. So, before I wrap up and let you guys go, I thought I had a hair tie. Oh, I do have a hair tie. Tonight, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 6:30 p.m. Central Time, 5:30 p.m. Mountain Time, 4:30 p.m. Pacific Time. I am doing a Florida Jen and Chill session where we are going to do a multi-guest. You can join. And we're going to make abstract art together. It's just a chill sesh. It's fun. So be sure to join us tonight. It's free. It's not a selling sesh. It's nothing like that. It's just fun. So I'll see you guys tonight, hopefully. Thanks for hanging out. And I will talk to you tonight. Bye, guys.